afternoon and welcome. My name is Michele Jutrisa and I'm an independent demonstrator here with Stamping Up in New South Wales, Australia. Now, I'm going to apologise straight up. If I go into a bit of a coughing fit, I am terribly sorry. I've got a drink here and I just can't do anything about it. I'm sorry. If it gets too bad, I will have to stop and maybe come back and re-record this later on. I just haven't been well for the last month and a half, and hopefully the antibiotics are now kicking this on the head. Now, please jump on, say hello, let us know where you're from, and have a bit of a chat with me as we craft. Today we're going to be playing with something I haven't done for a little while, and it's something that I actually really enjoy doing, and I was so pleased when the vellum became available again. So this is something that you can do with your vellum. You can also do it with your alcohol pens. Well, you will definitely need your alcohol pens. And let me flip the camera down and show you what we're going to be doing. Okay, I just may have to make a couple of little adjustments here. Hold on one second. Just gotta take this out a little bit more and maybe move that across. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to be doing some colouring with some of our blends. So I have got 3 blends here. I'm only using the dark colours because you will get different shades of all of this. And so what the colours I have got here are Afternoon Azure in the dark. I have got Mossy Meadow, I believe, no, Old Olive in the dark, and Lemon Lime Twist in the dark. I've also got a couple of paintbrushes, a stylus. Now, this is a pump that I purchased many years ago. And you can put a pen through there. We're not going to worry about that. I'm not going to try to pull it apart or anything like that. Hello, Leslie. Hello, Sharon. Thanks for jumping on. This is just going to be used. We're going to need some air. We're going to be doing some colouring using our blends and some alcohol as well. Now, you can use a straw for doing this, and generally I tend to like to use the straw because I can then breathe out through the straw the amount of air that I want. But because I haven't been well, I just didn't think it was very good if I inhaled some alcohol at the moment. We are going to be using 100% rubbing alcohol. We are not going to be drinking this. And this is rubbing alcohol only. You have to use the about 90% and up for this to work. Doesn't work on the other one, which I have here somewhere. Can't use Icy Pole, okay? If you use the Icy Cold, has got water in it. It's only got a small amount of alcohol in it. Really good for cleaning your glass mats, really good for cleaning your trimmers. I can't see on there very quickly at the moment, but you can't use it for what we're doing today with this. You need the 100% alcohol. Now, Diggers brand. You can buy this at Big W because it's used for cleaning your computer screens. It's used for cleaning your glasses. So you can get it from Big W. You can get it from Bunnings here in Australia. I do know I think my local Mitre 10 also sells in big containers, not this brand, but just in big containers of alcohol, because I was given some once, which is really good because that will last me forever, for a lifetime. So you do need that. I have got a little glass, shot glass here, and I have poured some alcohol in there because we do want to have it. We don't want to be spraying it on our work. We want to be able to have control of what we're doing. Now, there's no right or wrong when we're doing this. And this is just a quick show of what we're going to be doing. We're going to be creating a background using alcohol markers and the alcohol. Now, I have seen people where they put all their colours on their vellum first and then add the alcohol and let that spread. That's fine if that's what you like to do. I myself like to have control with the amount of colour I'm putting in and the control of where my colours are going. So I actually work one colour at a time. So that's what we're going to be showing today. So let's pop that to one side, and I'm going to grab my vellum. Now, you can't do this on paper. You can't do it on photo paper. It has to be non-porous. You can do it on plastic, your window sheet. You can do it on that. If you do it on something porous, it's just going to absorb, okay? We don't want it to absorb. We want it to float. We want it to flow. We want it to be liquefied on our vellum here. So, as I said, if you did try to do it on your basic white cardstock, it won't work. You can buy Yupo. Sorry, I had to think of how to pronounce it. You can buy Yupo, which is like a plastic type paper, and it's made for this type of thing. So anything that's not is not porous. You can do this on tiles. You can do it on, if you're doing stuff with kids, you can wash and cut up a milk container because it's plastic. It's non-porous. You can do it on that if you want to be able to make, say, Christmas decorations or window decorations for the kids to hang on their windows, like a stained glass window. So they're the different things that you can use it on. And you could just use the same sort of technique, except if you're going to do it with kids, don't use your good ones. Sharpies will do exactly the same thing because they're an alcohol-based pen. Now, just remember, if you are going to, when you've finished your creation and you want to stamp on this, don't use your Stays On. Stays On is alcohol. You want to use your Memento ink. This does not take long to create because it dries very, very quickly, which means you have to work quickly. So let's get started. I've got 2 paintbrushes and the stylus, and I'll show you what I'm going to use the stylus for later on. I'm mainly using this paintbrush because it's got a nice thick brush head, which means that when I add my alcohol to my vellum, I'm getting a lot of alcohol, okay? You can use a container with a very small nib type end on it. I do have one here somewhere, but I don't know exactly where it is at the moment. But like a glue container with a very small pin head nib, and you can just squirt it on in little bits. You can use that as well. So let's get started. I've got a piece of paper towel here just to put my brush on. Just got a block on there at the moment. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a quick drink. Okay. What's the weather like where you are? Here it is stinking hot. So I've got my, I'm going to start off with the Azure Afternoon in dark, and I'm just going to lay some colour down. Now I'm using the broad tip because I want to lay quite a bit of this down, and I want to lay it quite quick. And then all I am going to do, I'm going to have this close by because I need to be able to use this very quickly. I'm going to add some alcohol to this. I'm not necessarily adding it directly onto my work, but I can drop it on. This will dry very quickly, and I'm just going to, using the pump, hand pump, is move that alcohol around. And as you can see, it is moving around really, really well. And what I'm doing is I'm spraying back onto itself. And that's what's going to help create all those beautiful lines of movement. Now, if there are areas over here that you haven't got, and your alcohol's dried up, just pop some more down on there and start spraying. Now, it is very, you should always do this in a well-ventilated room. And as I said, if you are using a straw, don't inhale. You only want to exhale and move that around. So I'm going to start with that to start with. If there's something here you're not happy with, pop some more alcohol on and keep pumping away. And that will start blending again. So I'm going to now come in and I'm going to add some of the lemon lime twist. I want quite a few bright colours in this. And don't be afraid to blend colours into itself, into each other. It'll create another colour. Can add some more down here. And I'm just going to keep blending until I've created something that I am happy with. If I want a bit more colour in this section here, I'm just going to add a bit more in there. Add a bit more alcohol and keep moving it around. And as I said, I'm just sort of blowing it in the direction that I want it to go, trying to blow it a little bit onto itself just to create those interesting lines. I've got a couple of little scratch marks there. It's because I've got my head of my pump too close, but that's okay. It just causes and creates another texture. So we're just going to keep going and adding more colour. If you wanted to, you could add 2 colours at once. I'm going to add a bit more blue down there. I don't want to add any more next to itself. But just remember, you want to have a little bit of control. And I'm also moving my paper to keep that alcohol moving around. What I want to do is try to get as much of this vellum covered as I possibly can. And the stronger I pump this little pump, the more movement I'm going to get in this vellum. My nose has decided to drip while I'm trying to do this. Okay. So I hope you all had a lovely Christmas. Hello, Deborah. How are you? Oh, it's a stinking hot day here too. It's I know where I grew up it's supposed to be a lot hotter. I think it's in the 40 degrees. It's out in the Riverina. So I can't complain too much because I'm not out there, but glad I don't live. I don't think I could handle it anymore. Okay, so I'm going to add a bit more of this one. I want to get a bit more blue into this yet because I do want my blue to be predominant. So does anyone have any questions about what I'm doing? I mean, it's a matter of playing, really. If you like doing this sort of thing, just get yourself some vellum, get yourself a good straw and some alcohol, and just play and move things, move the ink around and see what sort of backgrounds you can come up with. And then you've got if you cut them into, this is a card front size, you cut them into this size, you can then, you've got, you could create them in different colours and have a backup of different things that you can use on different projects. Always good to have a few little things like that to play with as well. So well, I'm glad I'm not where you are. I won't complain too much about the heat here. I'm sitting pretty much on top of the fan at the moment. And I haven't moved that much further past my craft room. Last night I made my husband go out and buy his takeaway for dinner because I was not cooking. But tonight I've been good and I have got something going in the all-day cooker. So come tonight, and it's already cooked really. So come tonight, I won't have to worry about it with the heat. It's all ready to go. And I think with being so sick and everything in the last month and a half, I've just been soldering on and not coping too much with this very hot weather. Okay. Now you just keep moving this around until you get what you like. I'm just turning the paper and tipping the paper, just trying to help that ink to move. If you get an area that's too dark and you want to lighten it, just add a little bit more alcohol in there, move it around, and you'll get some nice whispery areas. Now, I'm actually getting quite happy with this, but what I might do is I might just chuck a little bit more blue, whoops, wrong tip, just over this side, just because I want to have quite a bit on here, and then I'm going to show you some different things you can do to create some different techniques. Now you can put this away now if you wanted to for a week and say, okay, I'm going to come back to it in a week's time, and you can pick up some alcohol and you can pick up right where you left off. Okay. Oh, yeah. I hope you guys stay nice and safe out there. It's one thing I can say, because we usually get fires most years. We haven't had them for a couple of years now, and that's quite good. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm just going to grab this other one that I was playing with earlier and just show you a few things that you can do to this. Now, I don't know whether you can notice or can see. I'll just hold it up a bit closer to the light and I'll just bend it a bit. I've got some tiny, weeny little spots happening. And you can create texture like that by taking stylus, and I'm going to use the fine tip, and I'm going to dip it into, excuse me, dip it into the alcohol, and I'm going to start just tapping it down. Now, you need to wait for a couple of seconds for that alcohol to start spreading, because the way alcohol works, when you put down a drop of alcohol, it pushes the ink away from where you've put it down, okay? So it's not drawing it in, it's pushing it away. So what I'm doing is just waiting and allowing those little bubbles or droplets to create and dry. You can go back in on top of itself and you can create bubbles inside of bubbles. Bubbles that are pushed from the outside pushing back in. And you can play around with this, just following the line if you want of some of those where you had the line of where the ink stopped. You can follow along with that, add some more ink. Now, I'd use the finer end to the thicker end just because the longer you hold your stylus down, the more alcohol you're getting into a particular area. Just trying to do it on here on a dark area here. And the more alcohol you're dripping. So the bigger that drop is going to be. And I don't know whether you can see that sort of starting to form there. I can then come back in and, as I said, put a drop hole on the top of each other so I can create bubbles inside of bubbles. You can create all sorts of patterns with this. So if you wanted to, like I've just done here, there might be just certain areas that you pick that you want to create a bit more interest with, and you can do that. You don't have to do that with a stylus. You could find something else. But just remember, you don't want to go too big. You don't use a brush because you're just going to get splatters or it's just going to go everywhere. Yeah, you could add salt to it as well and it'll react the same way as what regular ink acts on paper as well. But this will dry very, very quickly. So whatever you do, you want to work with it quite quickly. I prefer doing it with my stylus, and that's because I prefer to have control over what I'm doing. I like to know that, you know, I'm forming this artwork and I wanted that to go there. Like I've taken my dots and following around the outline of these, the edges of where the ink has been. So, it's really just doing your thing and working out what you want to do. Now we want to make a card out of this. So how are we going to do that? Okay, let me just pop all this to one side because we don't need any of that anymore because this part is all done. So I'm going to pop that one to one side and I'm going to bring this one back in again, which is the one I want to use. So what I've got some basic white cardstock here. And I've got some a sheet of adhesive sheet. So this is my card base, which I've cut 10-fold. I've cut it 10.5 by 29.9, and I've scored this at 14.9, okay? Then I have got a piece of basic white, which I'm going to put on the inside of my card. I might yet decorate this somehow. I haven't thought about it as yet, but this is going to be going on the inside, and I've cut this at 10 at 14.4. Then this piece here is going to be what I'm going to pop on the back of this. And I've cut this at 7.5 by 11.9. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to pop a block on that just to hold that down. And I've got my adhesive sheets here. And I'm going to work out which side is the right side, this one here. And I'm going to adhere this to my piece of basic white here. Now, I found this was the easiest way to adhere my vellum to this for this technique. You could, on the back of it, spray some glue or do a layer of very thin glue, but I find this is a lot easier and a lot quicker, less mess. If you do blobs of glue underneath your vellum, like with clear vellum, you may likely to see it through your vellum, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to give that a good rub down. Got my bone folder here because I just want this to be well and truly adhered. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to work out what section of this I want to have on my card. So I do want to have probably something like that. I'm going to flip that over. So this is my back side, and it's slightly more muted than my front. And I'm going to peel this off, the backing off that adhesive sheet. That adhesive sheet now should be adhered nicely onto the back of my basic white. So I might pop that down first on there, and then this one can go over the top. And we are going to cut it down. Now I just need to work out exactly where I want that to go, and it's going to go right there. Now just be very careful. Your alcohol is sitting on the top there. If it's very, very dark, it can tend to come off on your hands because there's a little bit of surface alcohol. I don't know whether you can see this paper towel here, but it's picking up some of that alcohol there. I'm not rubbing it because if I rub it, it's going to blend it. So I don't want to do that. All I want to do is just press that down. I want the brightness. If you didn't want the brightness so much, you probably could have just used the reverse side, but it would be slightly muted. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my trimmer here, and I'm going to trim away the excess vellum. Doesn't matter if you're a little bit wider than the basic white, but I'm trying to get as close as I possibly can to it. So that's going to give us that, which is going to go on the front of our card. Now, at this point, if you want to go back in there and add a bit more texture, you still can. Okay? Yeah, you can use other alcohol inks. All your Ranger inks and everything will do exactly the same thing. But what I'm trying to show you here today is how you can use your Stampin' Up! Inks to do techniques like this. Because all we tend to do with our Stampin' Up! Inks blends is we tend to colour images. So this is just a really fun way to create a background that might otherwise not have been done. Or, as I said, you can use other inks. And I have played with other alcohol, with all the Ranger inks. There's some great colours. And where you put the gold line, I actually prefer doing that with my, I'm trying to think of the brand because it's not Ranger I've got in that one in my gold ink. But I know that when a lot of people have gone and used, I'm trying to think what they've used. I think drawing a line and then adding embossing powder and things like that, I think it can be too thick. Whereas I like to actually use the alcohol gold, and you get those nice thin veins. So look, I mean, if you've got the alcohol inks by Ranger, that's great. I just wish sometimes that they would bring in the alcohol inks for us in containers, in bottles, because then we can get used to that as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to I want to adhere that onto there. But before we do that, because, that's beautiful, but I want to add something else to it. Now, I don't know whether you've noticed in the January online exclusives, they've got a product which is called Covered in Flowers Accents. And this is what they look like. It's this is your basic white, so it's a little bit creamier than your basic white. It's the thickness of the cardboard is probably a little bit thicker than your basic white, and you've got all these beautiful laser cut images, okay? And you can tell they're laser cut because on the other side you've got like this burnt line, which is where the laser has burnt through the cardstock. But you've got all these beautiful images that you can add to your card fronts or your scrapbooking pages. So the one I've chosen to use is this one. And I'm just going to pop out all these little bits and pieces here. You could leave them in or take some out, leave others in. You could colour this if you wanted to colour it. Just use your blending brush and colour it. I want to leave this just white because I'm trying to create a contrast with the background. Now, if you don't want to do the alcohol or you don't have the products, of course, instead of doing an alcohol background, you could do the same thing by using one of the designer series papers. So you could create this card with just DSP. Oops, I might have to get take a pick tool to help get me some of these pieces out. I suppose this is the tedious part, but it's going to be worth it in the end. So now Christmas is over. Australia Day is coming up. Anyone going anywhere or doing anything for your Australia Day? We have a big parade happening, I hope, in Berrima. I'm saying I hope because we got a new council a couple of years ago, and council before that had stopped doing the parade, our celebrations. Well, they stopped because of COVID, but then the council decided they didn't want to bring them back again. And they were very, very missed. And then our new council, mayor and council, have brought them back. So I haven't heard much as yet, but I'm assuming they're still happening this year. And Berrima is sort of like, because Southern Highlands is made up of about 4 or 5 little villages and towns, Mossvale being one of them. Anyway, that's going to go on top of that somewhere like that. So what I'm going to do is, I'm quite happy with actually gluing this back piece down first and then gluing that on top, I think. So I'm just going to use my liquid adhesive. But yeah, we're made up of quite a few towns. You've got Mossvale, Berrima, Mittagong, which is the 3 main ones. And then we have Berrima, New Berrima, Almerton, Collavale, Hilltop, all these other little villages around. And we all come together in Berrima to celebrate Australia Day, which is fantastic. The schools all come out with, I'm just pushing that down with a bit of paper towel. You going camping, Deborah? Oh, that sounds like fun. Okay, so once we've got that down, we're happy with that, then we can adhere this down. So I'm just going to add, now one side of this seems big because that's the side with the brown on it. If you wanted to, you could even use that as your right side, because sometimes that brown, that burnt look adds nice texture as well, or you want it going in a different direction. But I'm going to actually have it going that white up. So I'm just going to add some glue onto here, just in different areas, just dotting it around because we want it to be held nice and firmly. So I want that to come down over that. I don't mind it hanging off a little bit. You could do a big sheet of the vellum and then cut it up into smaller pieces if you wanted to do it that way. So there's our card front. Now I have picked just a very simple basic sentiment, and I've got that from the banner sayings. But I hope you're all taking advantage of the product of the month, because the latest one, which I haven't received as yet, I'm supposed to be getting mine next week, will have some lovely sayings in it too that we can use. So I'm just using here sending love, and I'm just going to stamp that right down the very bottom on my basic white. So I just want a very, very simple, because really I want that background to be that hero of my card. Now I threw some of these into the box. Let's have a quick look what we've got here. I think I've only got one big one, but what I might do is I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to cut. Am I going to cut? Am I just going to leave that just plain on the inside? Let me just, there's not a huge amount. That's not too bad. I like that one better. Okay, I'm not going to add adhesive sheet to this one. All I'm just going to do is add a little bit of glue, only just in those coloured areas. And I'm going to have that right. Let's just get rid of that for the moment. And pop that right along that bottom edge of that. Just let that glue set and dry a little bit. And once you're happy with that, then we can just trim that away. I'm going to pop that piece there. I've got wet glue there. I don't really want to try to get wet glue on my scissors. The alcohol will clean that. That's another good thing with alcohol. Cleans all your tools and your blocks. Okay, so there's my edge on my inside of my card. Good morning, Nicole. Or good afternoon, actually. Let's pop that on the inside there. Just going to give that a good run with my bone folder just to make sure that that's all adhered. And there we are. So that's our card for today. So really, it's a very, very simple card. As I said before, if you don't want to play with alcohol, then you could use your paper, designer series paper, to create that background. Now, if you wanted to, we could add some bling onto here. I'm probably looking for something that's going to be quite clear, or something that's got a colour that's going to go with it. I actually don't think I'll be adding anything to that. I think that's quite nice like it is. But as I said before, if you're going to stamp on this, make sure you use your Memento ink, because if you use your Stays On, it's going to blend with the inks there, because it's an alcohol base. So I hope you, as I said, I hope you enjoyed this. That's it for me today. I'm actually going to go into my lounge room now and sit down and hopefully cool down, because my craft room tends to get very, very hot. I hope you give this a go. And if you give it a go, please, because I will take photos of this and post it on and blog about it and post it up on my Facebook page. Just if you try it yourself, I'd love to see. Just post it in the comments. Tag me in it if you've got your own site that you want to show me stuff on. I'm really happy to have a look. And it looks where somewhere along the line I've dropped a drop of alcohol right in that spot, because I've got a big dot right there. But that's okay. It just adds to the beauty of this card, because it's very, very organic. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me. Let me just flip my camera back up to me again. There we go. Thank you for joining me. Have a lovely weekend. Stay cool. I think we've got another hot day tomorrow. If you're in the areas of all the bushfires down in Victoria, please stay safe. Yeah, just look after yourselves. And please drink lots. Because I think one of the problems with the fact that I am being so sick is I tend not to drink lots. So I am forcing myself to drink at the moment. And my body has just become very dehydrated. So take care. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. And we'll see you next Friday for another card. Bye for now.